Welcome to Bhai Waugh. Welcome to Bhai Waugh. Good evening, Anshuman.
Man, what a day.
What a day indeed.
What a day was yesterday. I've still got
Yeah, I saw you put up something very nice on your Instagram as a story which said, and pardon me if I got it wrong, dear Test cricket, I love you, kind of something like that.
Inspired by Karan Nair's tweet, of course. But then, man, this was one of those matches, which, just completely tells you how unexpected outcomes in Test cricket happen.
Correct.
In fact, I think you summed it up quite well by, calling this match a true outlier.
Yeah, it was absolute. I mean, so, to put it in perspective, I think last week when we saw what happened in the first test, and we watched that last innings a little bit together, we were at the quiz and we were watching it.
Yeah.
And, it was what was called the unlosable test, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone's calling it that.
Yeah.
And then to this one was looking like an unwinnable test because you didn't have Bumrah, you didn't have, you had lost the first test and Akash Deep suddenly comes in, you have no idea what's happened. So you've gone from an unlosable test to an unwinnable test in 7-8 days,
Exactly.
So very, very interesting test match.
Yeah.
What were your, when this test started, what did you think? I mean, we had spoken about this last time and I really felt if they were 1-0 up, going into Edgbaston, where we've never won, they would be 2-0 up, most probably. And that would have given them the momentum for a 4-0 and maybe even a 4-1 if that was the case.
Yeah.
I would still possibly have put Lords in India's favor. But yeah, what were your thoughts when this test started?
No, pretty much the same. Edgbaston is England's fortress. They've won pretty much everything that they've played against everyone there. If I remember correctly, some 57 odd matches played, of which England have won 30.
Yeah.
Lost 11 against India.
I think 7 games, huh? 7 or 8.
Seven we've lost. One was a draw.
One was a draw.
Yeah. So, Edgbaston, clearly England's fortress.
Right. I mean, you can pun on it and say it had the edge and it was their bastion. So
exactly.
Edgbaston in a way. Yeah.
Also, you rightly mentioned no Bumrah, so huge doubts if India would be able to take 20 wickets or be able to contain the England batsmen at all.
Correct.
But on the first day when I saw the wicket, I was a little reassured.
Right.
Reassured not for a India win, but everything pointed towards a draw in my mind.
Right. And was it before the game started or as the game progressed on day one?
Within the first session of play itself.
Right.
Of course, we lost Rahul a bit early.
Correct.
The ball wasn't doing anything.
Right.
And there wasn't too much grass. The bounce seemed to be absolutely consistent.
Right.
So, it seemed to be a fairly placid wicket. In fact, maybe, that was the reason why India chose not to play Bumrah. There was no reports of him being injured or tired. So, it was a conscious decision to keep him out of this particular match.
Possibly. But, when the toss happened and Stokes put India into bat, Gill felt also at that point in time that he would have possibly bowled first. So I don't know if both the captains really read the pitch wrongly. I think even Gill read it wrong.
Yeah.
It was a flat deck, as flat as it gets.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, if you go by the game at the end of the day, it was a new ball wicket, right? The first 30 overs were key.
Yeah.
And that was proved by India in both the innings. I think England didn't use the new ball that well in both the innings.
Actually, the commentators kept on saying new ball wicket.
Yeah.
But every wicket is a new ball wicket.
True.
And it didn't seem as though there were some major demons.
No, there wasn't. In fact, I think yesterday when I was watching it, it said the average swing was about 0.5 or 0.8.
Yeah.
Which is a standard swing for a decent swing bowler, right?
True.
And I think Akash Deep was mainly using the crease very well, which is why he was getting those angles in.
True.
Which made it tough. But yeah, we'll come to that one by one. But the first 2 days were literally all about, Mr. Gill, right? It looked like he was in sublime touch and sublime control.
It was such a joy to watch him bat. Like, he had all the time in the world to play any shot that he wanted.
Right.
And like, his cover drives, absolutely sublime. Absolutely sublime.
Yeah, it's an odd one, because he doesn't really look like he's hitting the ball.
Yeah, yeah.
He doesn't look like he has much of a follow through.
Yeah.
It's like a quick punch either on the off or the on.
Yeah.
The ball just goes. Like, he's very compact kind of player.
Absolutely.
It's like all muscle and all wiry muscle. Very almost very seamless and fluid in the way that he plays. Right?
Yeah.
It was as good an innings as I've seen. And I think he really had the 300 there for the game.
Yeah. It was a very soft dismissal eventually, just lobbed the ball to short square.
Right. I think he just sort of maybe tiredness got to him, whatever. But
probably.
Correct. But then there were some interesting other innings around Gill as well. I mean, there was a really good innings from from Jadeja, where they had that huge partnership 200. And I think at that point when Jadeja came in, they were 200 for 5. And like Stokes rightly said, had they got a couple of wickets there, it would have probably justified his decision.
Absolutely.
So it was a key innings there from Jadeja. And then, of course, Sundar comes in and does what he normally does fairly well. He scores that 30-40.
Before that, there was Jaiswal too. Jaiswal got 89.
Of course. Yeah, of course. Jaiswal, without a doubt. 87 or 89, yeah, correct.
In fact, compared to Gill's exploits, Jaiswal's exploits are getting a bit underplayed.
Yeah, but you score 269 and 161, everyone's going to get underplayed, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that's 430 runs in a game. So.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, I mean, let's not forget Jaiswal. He started off really well.
Yeah.
Again, 100 for the taking, I felt. Unfortunately, it nicked it there.
Yeah.
But what? I mean, when India finished off with like 587, right? Did you feel at that point, again, this is going to be a draw?
Absolutely. In fact, it only reaffirmed my belief that this is heading towards a draw. Maybe I'm jumping forward in terms of the storytelling here. But can you think of any match in which how many 1,600 runs have been scored?
Right.
And it's yielded a result?
Very few. I can't.
Nothing comes to mind actually.
Generally, I mean, even India was scoring at a very quick rate.
Yeah.
But even 600 took almost the entire part of the second day, right?
Exactly.
England got an hour or 50, 2 hours max to play.
Precisely.
So once a team bats that long, you expect the other team to then come back with a 500, 400. And that takes time away from the game in any case.
Absolutely.
But then when they lost 3 wickets in that first evening, and Akash Deep was doing what Akash Deep was doing, did you still feel even then that, that's going to be a draw?
Yeah. Now, both Akash Deep and Siraj were absolutely spectacular throughout the England first innings, definitely.
Right.
What struck me as very strange about the England innings is, apart from the 6 ducks, no one but for Brooks and Smith, and they ended up getting big 150 plus scores.
Right.
Could seem to get the measure of our bowlers.
But again, I think so partly because I think Smith and by the time Smith and Brook were batting, it had already crossed that 35th to 40th over mark. Ball was getting soft, and I think they both went on the attack, and they're really good when they're attacking. And Smith again looks like a really good batsman. I mean, he's
reminds me of a right-handed Adam Gilchrist.
Yeah, very very much a right-handed Adam Gilchrist, right? I mean, he's got the strength and the power and the timing, and he played proper cricketing shots. There were no slogs or swipes or anything like that. It was big measured innings. Brook has that little bit of that that additional flair in him. He's almost got that arrogance to him. Which also is his undoing sometimes. I feel it gets to him a little bit. But I think when that partnership was going on, I think a lot of I wasn't watching the match that time. I was reading the commentary live, and people were getting a little worried about, oh God, here we go, right?
No, but then it comes to mind, KJ, how much would a middle order batsman bat?
Yeah, that's true.
Brooks is top order, but then and especially the way in which they play, their game is high risk.
Correct. Very high risk.
Thing or the other would happen sooner than later.
Correct. Yeah, but I mean, eventually quite incredible, right? I mean, the two of them score what, 184 and 158. That's 350 of the
40 odd runs between them. So
yeah, the
403.
Yeah, so 6 ducks in 2 large hundreds, and you score 407, and then that puts you 180 back. I think what was nice there to see in that was how India came back to take those last 5 wickets, right?
Absolutely.
They generally have always got a problem with the tail. And this time, I think England did what India did in the first test, right? Where they had those 2 mini collapses.
Exactly.
It was excellent bowling by Siraj.
Yeah. Actually, like slightly earlier on, his ball to Ben Stokes.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I think that was the ball of the match, actually.
I would say it was the ball that got Joe Root in the second innings from Akash.
Yeah. True, yeah.
Well, the sort of outswinger, it was fantastic ball. But yeah, I mean, that slaughter was not expected on the pitch, right?
Exactly.
You would expect that ball to happen to Root, but the slaughter that got Stokes on a dead pitch, you wouldn't expect. Right. Exactly. So he really bent his back there, I guess.
Yeah.
So great. I mean, I think it was probably after a long time you had the 2 opening bowlers taking all the 10 wickets.
Exactly.
I read the stats somewhere. I don't remember exactly after how many years.
But apart from Jadeja, though Jadeja didn't get any wicket in the first inning, the other bowlers, Sundar, Prasadh Krishna, Nitish Reddy was of course hardly
used. Right.
They didn't do anything at all. In fact, it was again a cause for concern.
Yeah.
Like Sundar is brought in as the specialist off spinner.
Correct.
Nitish Reddy is there to alleviate the stress of the main bowler. Prasadh Krishna was like all over the place.
Prasadh had a bad score so far. Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, you go 180 up, and then you're still thinking this might be a draw, right?
Yeah.
I even then I felt okay, this is not going to yield a result.
Yeah.
India do something spectacular in the second innings, and generally what happens in the second innings, you don't expect it to go almost as good as the first innings, right?
Yeah.
Even teams that score 500, 600 in the first innings probably do about 250, 300 in the second innings. Either due to declaration or because they're batting fast and they get all out or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Again, the second innings was quite brilliant.
Absolutely. Rahul was spectacular.
Yeah.
Gave us a fantastic start. Of course, like Jaiswal got out
early this time.
Early, but then he also got.
I think he's got a clap at 28 or something.
28 or something. That was an interesting decision because there seemed to be a DRS on the DRS.
Correct. There was a DRS on the DRS. True.
Then of course, Gill was completely sublime. I was kind of happy for Karun Nair also. In both the innings, he looked comfortable at field.
Right, but oddly enough, he's the only top 6 India batsman now not to get a 50.
Not got a 50, yeah.
Right, and he's probably looked the most assured apart from Gill, right? Yeah, exactly. He's looked good while he's there. But I think he'll come good, hopefully.
And then, how cool was Rishabh Pant, man?
Oh, that was amazing.
That flying, him falling.
I think everything that he does, I mean, including his chatter behind the stumps, is so interesting.
Yeah.
He's a character. He's a real character. And I think, if you go back to that Gavaskar incident in Australia where he said idiot, stupid.
Yeah, no, exactly.
But that's the way he's going to play. He is going to play stupidly.
Yeah.
And probably it looks stupid because it's not Test cricket. It's not really impact. But it's so bloody effective when it comes out, So,
yeah, exactly.
It's really entertaining guy.
In fact, the way he batted, it just seemed as though, we could have declared perhaps a hour before tea and given our bowlers more time.
Yeah.
So how Jadeja came in and started plodding
Correct.
was kind of, very, very, very surprising.
Yeah, it was a baffling, 1
Very
hour.
baffling, yeah.
Very baffling. I mean, they were already I think when Jadeja came out, they were already 300 plus
Yeah.
in the head.
Yeah.
And more than that, I think from the
Both
Steve.
back, yeah.
And then to see him suddenly plodding and probing. Maybe they were trying to get the pitch scuffed up a little bit. Maybe there was some, just trying to make the pitch a little older. Maybe some tactic. I don't know what it was, but I didn't think Gill was too worried about that.
I think he was playing to a brief, definitely, because Jadeja always plays to the situation.
Correct.
And he's not a plodder. If he's told to get on with it, he does that.
Yeah, and he has the ability to do it as well.
Precisely.
Correct.
So, like, this was clearly like, something coming from the think tank, and maybe like, they already had it in their mind that, situation apart, let's just stick by, the conventional template of giving the opposition 1 hour before close of play,
Correct.
which is what they eventually did.
What they eventually did. Yeah.
But then, like, in doing that, we did two things. Firstly, like, of course, like, the means justify the end. So, like, this is like, everything is fantastic in hindsight.
Yeah.
But at that point of time, like, it seemed a little stupid to deny our bowlers the opportunity of that, additional hour of play.
Correct.
Which could have been possible.
Yeah, I mean, I think had it gone wrong, that would have been questioned for sure.
Yeah.
And it would have not just been questioned, he would have been possibly persecuted for that decision, right? Crucified for a decision like that, had something gone wrong.
Shanti, like, 450, 475 to chase in the last innings, that is a super daunting task.
Yeah, I thought they would give it about 500 and like 110 overs.
Yeah, let's say 500 also, like, this pass ball is a bit of a hawa in everyone's head.
Correct.
But then, like, never been done.
I wouldn't look at it too harshly. I think because they were coming from that unlosable test, right?
Yeah.
See, he batted them out of the game basically.
Yeah.
And to a certain extent, maybe he even played on their ego because I think he said, okay, if you're good enough, get that 60 odd or whatever needed in 100 overs. And at the second part, which is actually trying to see if these guys can actually survive.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a certain extent it's been proved that maybe England doesn't have that second game where they can scratch and scrounge around and save a test.
Precisely. Like, everyone in England, in the England lineup, seemed to be absolutely hapless.
Yeah.
Like, the only person who has, the kind of the skill set to do baseball and normal cricket is Joe Root.
Joe Root, yeah.
Unfortunately, we had an answer for him.
Yeah, unfortunately, he had a bad game. I mean, he probably got the ball of the game. But even then, I mean, see, generally, even if you were to say give them a couple of hours, right?
Yeah.
And India declared with, say, 500 or 510, 25, whatever ahead, and they had the additional hour to bowl.
Yeah.
I think still a fair assessment would have been 3 to 4 wickets by the end of today's play.
Mm-hmm.
Which is eventually what they got in any case.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot of luck here. There's a lot of fortune here. Things don't exactly come up the way you expect. But yeah, on the last day, yesterday, I think we were talking about this, and it started off with that hour's rain.
Yeah.
Which was one, right? In fact, there were some very interesting comments on Cricinfo at that time. One of them was a very funny one, which said, "So baseball now has 80 overs to get this."
Yeah.
Sign for your IPL contracts here. So, it's really interesting. But yeah, again, I mean, do you think they did it smoothly in the last day? A smooth last day for India?
Again, like, when it rained, I thought that, this is going to be a draw because, like, whatever thoughts England might have had of chasing,
right,
like, they would have been completely brushed aside.
Correct.
So, like, it was very, very, very surprising to see England players come out and continue to bat the way they normally do. Like, no one really dug in. And of course, other than that, like, Akash Deep was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, he was phenomenal. Absolutely. I mean, see, the first part of the answer, I don't think they have the game to begin.
Yeah.
They're all naturally attacking, and under a Brendan McCullum in the baseball, they've probably been, sort of washed away in that sense.
Yeah.
You said Root's probably the only guy who's got the game to adapt.
Yeah.
Right? They don't have a second person there.
True.
And to be honest, to a certain extent, even India doesn't have that kind of player anymore. They don't have the Pujaras of the world are not there anymore, right?
Don't have Pujara, but then, like, I think the likes of Rahul, Gill,
they would have still. Correct.
They can still,
correct. This was an outlier test, as you said. It was going at a different, sort of wavelength. Come back to Akash Deep on the last day. I mean, again, he just comes back and holds his heart out and takes the 6 wickets, right? What stood out for you for Akash Deep, and what was the thing?
amount of brain that guy showed was incredible. In fact, I'm at least flabbergasted that, why is it that he's not been a consistent member of our team? In Australia also, he bowled well. But then, I think he was brought in only for the last two tests or so. Before him, Akash Rana, he didn't play the first test here in England.
Correct.
For a guy to have that kind of, presence of mind and skill.
Right.
In fact, Shastri said something very interesting in his commentary. He said that his skill comes from the fact that he plays so much Ranji Trophy.
Yeah, true.
It's being absolutely very difficult to get any purchase on for the pace bowlers or so.
Correct.
So the way he used the crease
beautifully.
And the trap was clearly set that there would be two that will go out, one which would come in.
Correct.
That is what got root. His trap for Jamie Smith, that was spectacular. I don't know if you watched it.
I did.
Okay. So two bouncers. Jamie Smith he's got a penchant for hooking. You drop it short, he's gonna pull a hook.
Right.
He gives him two short ones which he deposits in the stand, and the third one is a slow bounce. Hats off to the
very intelligent. Yeah. I think also he Akash Deep is if you look at him, he reminds me of a combination of a number of bowlers.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of Shami in him in the way that he looks, his sort of physicality.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of a Praveen Kumar in him in the terms of the way he uses his angles and wrist. Yeah. Not as good as Praveen Kumar, perhaps with the wrist.
Yeah.
He has a little bit of that Praveen Kumar.
Absolutely. Praveen Kumar, Manoj Prabhakar.
Yeah. So and I think he's faster than he seems. He looks.
Yeah.
He's a little deceptive.
130s and early 140s. So,
yeah, correct. Which is not a bad place to be at.
Absolutely.
And I think I read somewhere that he was actually very delighted to go to London to England because he found green top wickets finally, and when he goes there and he finds these feather beds again.
Right. This is not even a one-kid wicket.
But looking ahead, that's a great. Gill has already confirmed that Bumrah is going to play the third test, which means I think Prasidh goes out, and then that gives India a fairly formidable three paceman attack, which is Bumrah, Shami, and Bumrah, Akash Deep, and Siraj.
Yeah. Other than that, I think I'm not in favor of this, this 50-50 approach that we have with regards to all-rounders.
Yeah, I agree.
Nitish Reddy, he's not an all-rounder because you don't make him bowl.
Correct.
He's a sweet kid, plays exceptionally well in the IPL.
He scored a test match century in Australia.
Test match century in Australia, but if he has to play as an all-rounder, he needs to add pace.
Correct.
Right now he is bowling nothings.
Correct.
Washington Sundar as a spinner, maybe the management sees something in him, but I think they play him more for his batting ability.
True.
So, instead of him, why not bring a Sai Sudarshan back?
I do think you're right. See, I have a feeling they will not go. Obviously, the one swap is definitely going to be Prasidh swapped out for Bumrah.
Yeah.
But the other one between Reddy and Washington, I think one of them is going to lose a game there.
Yeah.
Probably go back to Sai Sudarshan.
Yeah.
Again, the reason being left-handers do better at Lords with the slope. So that kind of a batsman does better. A very compact kind of batsman. And secondly, they should definitely play Kuldeep.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Again, the slope will help a little bit. And by day 4 and 5, Lords does turn to a certain
level.
So I would, if I was picking it, I would get Nitish out of the team. I'd play Sai Sudarshan in place of him.
Yeah.
And I would play
Kuldeep instead of Washington Sundar. And trust my first 6 batsmen to do it. Absolutely.
And Jadeja, up to Jadeja. I trust everyone up to Jadeja to bat.
Exactly.
And Kuldeep is not, he can hold a an end for sure.
Yeah.
But India's got to go for the kill now.
Count down the likes of Akash Deep and Siraj and all to get 15, 17, 20.
Yeah, Lords is traditionally a 350, 400 ground.
Yeah.
So if you get your six main batsmen to score that, you are the good spot at Lords. But Lords is very much a first day pitch as well.
First day pitch, like it depends on like what the weather is like.
Yeah, correct. It depends on how the weather is. We'll know in a couple of days it starts. So we'll see. But let's go back to the test, and this test was all about, at the end of the day, the sheer mountain of statistics. Right?
Absolutely.
How many records, and I lost count at the end of the day of.
So like you and I'm fuzzy about,
Yeah, I mean, Shubman Gill 432nd only to Grant, which is 456.
The
only batsman in the history of Test cricket to score a 250 and a 150. The only second batsman after Border to score two 150s in a game. Lots of, I mean, India's first time that India scored 1,000 runs in a Test match. Just one after the other. But there's one little trivia, and we go to because there were so many batting records that difficult to keep track. Whose record did Akash Deep break for 10 wickets in England? There's only one more bowler.
Mr. Chetan Sharma.
Yes.
And
oddly, Chetan Sharma did it on the same venue, right?
And I was just going over this. Both of them had very similar match figures in terms of number of runs conceded.
Yeah, very similar. And again, I mean, in that team, I think when Chetan Sharma played, you had Kapil, you had Bini. He was the third or the fourth bowler, right? Generally. And very underrated again, Chetan Sharma. When you think of Chetan Sharma, you always think of the last ball 6. But you don't remember, or you might remember the hat trick that he took in the M7 World Cup. But he was quite an effective bowler, right? And he had a Test century, a one-day century, I think.
One-day century,
So looking ahead at Lords, now that India has lorded it over at Edgbaston, what are your predictions? How do you look at it going?
England's going to come back with a bang. Like they've got a statement to make. But at the same time, with Bumrah coming back, the kind of form that our batsmen are in at this point of time, it would be even Stevens. England would bring back Jofra Archer.
Yeah, correct.
He'll be a handful to face.
True.
He is injury prone, so let's see if he lasts the duration of the match. Other than that,
possibility of Atkinson coming back also.
Atkinson coming back. Atkinson's averaging 22.
Yeah.
He's got phenomenal figures.
He's almost Bumrah level. I mean, he's just a little below Bumrah. So.
Precisely,
and a decent bat as well. And a decent bat.
Absolutely, he's got a century.
But undercooked for the test. I mean, he's not had enough practice or games behind him. Same with Archer, though Archer's been bowling a lot more over the last 15-20 days. But I mean, again, it's more pace there with the two of them. And Archer was not going to be easy, even if he's half fit. From day one, I mean, he'll come in for this team.
Exactly.
But I just feel, I think mine, it's predictions are all going to go out of the window. I think this is a series that is going to be an outlier series. It might just be that we are not going to get a single game which is going to go as per what the pundits think. I think, but just now, based on the momentum that India has, the fact that it's going to be back, it does look a little better for India going ahead. As long as the batting stays the way it is.
Exactly.
Right. Okay, so of all the things that happened, and today we had this very interesting thing where you had Vian Mulder of South Africa.
367.
And he declares.
And
he declares at 367 with 3 days left. They got Zimbabwe all out and following on.
Who's captain South Africa? He did.
He's the first captain to score a triple century as well.
Right? What happened to Babuma? He's not playing in the series.
No, so this series is not counted under the World Test Championships because they're playing Zimbabwe. So technically, they've not sent the B team. It's like the A team that's going to play. And I think Keshav Maharaj was supposed to captain. He got injured. Vian Mulder suddenly got thrust into the captaincy role. But I haven't checked the reason why he declared 367. I just I'm very curious to know why he did that. Very, very curious. He had to hold it for a taking there.
No, perhaps What would have been the next milestone for him?
So I think he broke 365 Gary Sobers.
So 380 Hayden.
No, 374 Jayawardene is in between.
375 Lara. 380
Lara, 200 Lara.
Yeah, so maybe another half an hour he could have batted and
he was hitting 4 and 6s at will there. So I mean, he scored at more than 100 runs strike rate.
Exactly.
Okay, so there's a little trivia here. Who is the only person in cricket to score a triple century and declare for a reason? There was a specific reason this person declared and wins after 300.
After reaching 300 or
this particular batsman scored a particular number and he had a chance to beat something and he declared overnight.
This was a beautiful instance of Matt Hayden declaring at 334.
You got the score right, but not the player.
It was Hayden.
Hayden, you said Hayden.
Yeah.
It's Mark Taylor, actually.
Sorry, Mark Taylor. Because he did want to exceed Don Bradman's...
Correct. So for those who are following Bhai Waugh, Mark Taylor was not out 334 overnight. He had a full day the next day, and he declares that score because he felt it was a tribute to Don Bradman, who had also scored 334, right? And oddly enough, there was, when Hayden was at 334 a few years later, there was a moment when he felt he should have declared as well. But I think they told him to keep going, right? And he ended up scoring the 380. So great. I mean, it's an interesting last 4-5 days of Test cricket.
In fact, one more piece of trivia.
Yeah, sure.
In fact, Joy Bhattacharya just posted this a short while back. So, Brian Lara used to have a contract with a clothing brand called Joe Blogs.
Okay.
He launched a line of jeans called 375. One Lara's achievement when he reached 375.
Correct.
Now, Lara goes on to make
400.
After that, he's in the reckoning to make cross 500 or so.
Right.
They're really worried because they don't want him to score 501.
Right.
That is Levi's.
That's Levi's.
And that's just the score which Lara goes on to make.
Yeah, actually.
So they launched a line of caps or something which is called 500 and ONE.
Oh, nice.
But
Right. Unfortunately, the Levi's, it's still Levi's.
Hell of a question and a good story.
That's a really good story. Who did Lara score the 501 against?
Lara 501.
He beat Hanif Mohammad's record of 499.
Yeah.
Scored against Durham in the county championship.
Durham, yeah.
Which I think Dermotry was probably captaining Durham at that time.
Okay.
Right. Okay, so on that note, I think it's been a week of amazing last 5 days of records, runs, great wickets by Akash Deep. Lords is coming in about a couple of days, so obviously Bhai Waugh will be back to get into that test as well. And Shubman, thank you again for your thoughts, for your views.
Awesome to be here. Great conversation as always.
Yeah, we should move a little bit and use the crease and get out of the frame now. So, and bowl a nice banana ball there. Thank you again, and look forward to the next chat on this.
Cheers, Chad. Take care.
Take care. Thank you.